Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm John Carroll in for Maya Tribulsi. The Trump administration has now canceled the visas of at least 529 students, faculty, and researchers across 88 colleges and universities. That, according to CNN. KPBS education reporter Katie Anastas says at least 9 of those students attend universities in San Diego.
4 students at San Diego State University have had their international student visas revoked. School officials told students, faculty, and staff yesterday that the federal government did not coordinate with the campus or provide advance notice or explanation. F1 visa holder One Naito wasn't one of the 4 students, but the news still shocked her. She's learning English and plans to study international relations.
I think it's good things to connect the world and then talk other countries' people. So I want to be like that. But if they take my right to study here, how can I live here? It's so crazy world.
F1 visas allow people to enter the U.S. as full-time students. Information about them is stored in a federal database. UC San Diego says it learned of its 5 students' visa revocations during a routine check of that system. San Diego State says it's looking for changes multiple times a day.
It will usually get revoked if they aren't going to class, they're failing grades, they're not paying their tuition. Usually it's the schools that will affirmatively revoke it because of failure to comply with what they need to be a student. What's unusual now is it is the Department of Homeland Security, Department of State going into systems and revoking it without giving really any notice to schools.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said some people with revoked visas were involved in pro-Palestinian campus protests, while others had criminal records. Arrests can affect a student's ability to keep or renew a visa. Immigration attorneys say some students have had their visas revoked even though their criminal cases were dismissed. Lynn says it may lead students to avoid coming to the U.S. at all.
What the aim is to create fear, to create a chilling effect on everyone. And students are a vital part of our communities, vital parts of our universities, our economy, and they bring a wealth of knowledge that's very different from our own, that's impactful in so many ways.
San Diego State has directed students to the International Student Center for advice and support. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
A U.S. district judge is demanding to know how the Trump administration is facilitating the return of a man it illegally deported. During a hearing this afternoon, the Department of Justice admitted it had no information on Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia's current whereabouts. The Maryland man was mistakenly deported to El Salvador due to an administrative error. He's being held in a high-security prison with other U.S. deportees. Today's hearing follows a Supreme Court ruling requiring the government to take steps towards securing Abrego Garcia's release, but it stops short of requiring the government to actually bring him back home.
The government attorney did say that they intend to comply with the order and bring him back. That's the bare minimum. They should have done that already. They've had plenty of time between the Supreme Court's order early yesterday evening and now. He should be here in the United States. It's a 5-hour flight.
The Supreme Court made their ruling last night very clear that it's the administration's responsibility to facilitate the return, not to effectuate the return.
The U.S. District Judge is ordering the Justice Department to give daily updates on its progress. The Supreme Court did not give the administration a deadline for when Abrego Garcia should be returned.
Tonight we are looking at some extra clouds still being around, especially for our coastal areas. Maybe some of that dense fog, a bit of a concern. And that's going to hold as we go through the weekend. 56 the low for the city. We are coming off of the hot temperatures, or the very warm temperatures, I should say. That full forecast coming up.
From dramatic market ups and downs to tariff confusion, it's been another roller coaster week on Wall Street. A survey out today shows the economic chaos is stoking consumer pessimism. Karen Kafa is in Washington with a look at why that matters.
The University of Michigan said on Friday that its monthly consumer sentiment reading, its look at how consumers feel about the economy, plunged for the month, with Americans not only feeling uneasy about where the economy is right now, but also where it's headed. Americans feel uneasy about the economy, according to a closely watched monthly survey from the University of Michigan. The pessimism driven in part by consumer expectations that inflation will push higher by the end of the year.
When prices go up, sort of by definition, people buy less. And when they buy less and there's less demand, and you see this decline in consumer and investor sentiment.
The University of Michigan, which conducted its consumer sentiment interviews prior to President Trump's announcement of a 90-day pause on some tariffs, says trade war developments have turned consumers more sour on the economy, with the expectation that unemployment will rise as well. Wild swings in the stock market will likely persist too, strategists say, unless there's more certainty around the tariffs.
It's going to be very difficult for the markets to find any stability unless and until we get to a place where some of the negotiations turn into some trade deals.
Both Wall Street and the Federal Reserve will be watching to see how consumer pessimism and market anxiety impact consumer spending, which drives about 70% of the U.S. economic engine.
Volatility is here to stay. The market isn't going directly down, doesn't seem to be going directly up. A lot of ups and downs each day, and that means diversification in your portfolio is more important than ever.
And looking at the impact of this on consumer households, now that President Trump has hiked the tariff on goods imported from China to at least 145%, updated research by the Budget Lab at Yale estimates President Trump's tariffs will cost the typical middle-class household an extra $3,700 a year. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Tariffs on imported goods are leading to price hikes at Asian markets here in California. Kara Finstrom reports from Los Angeles.
Has this beautiful jasmine aroma.
Lan Ong runs Wing Hop Fung, the family business her parents started in Chinatown in 1985. Its focus, importing teas and other cherished Asian products, something that just got exponentially harder.
Our biggest trading partner is China, so when we hear that these tariffs are going up, we definitely feel it's a threat to small minority family businesses like ours.
Wednesday morning, the Trump administration hiked the tariff on imports from China to 125%. Ong says she's got containers coming in from China with 6 figures worth of product. She's not sure how she'll absorb a tariff that more than doubles her costs.
As soon as that container arrives to our warehouse, that tariff has to be paid right away.
She's weighing holding shipments, but one seasonal product tough to delay, the spring teas her retail and wholesale customers want.
We're talking to our brokers. I'm working with we have calls tonight with our vendors, with our suppliers.
Prices are going to go up, so I guess, maybe I got a little bit of time to get some other stuff before everything goes up.
Ong says her business has already taken hits from COVID, inflation, and drops in tourism. The tariffs could be a massive new blow.
We've been in business for 40 years, and our customers come to trust us, and we'll do our best.
Over at Jones Coffee in Pasadena, Chuck Jones imports much of his bean inventory from Guatemalan farms, including his family's. He then roasts and sells it.
My mom was born on our family coffee farm. It's, she's 5th generation.
But Jones says thanks to a drop in the world market, along with much lower tariffs of 10% across much of the Western Hemisphere, his coffee financials are okay for now. His bigger immediate concern? Cups and equipment imported from China.
Once it gets roasted, it reveals stuff too.
We sat down for a tasting of beans just brought back from Guatemala.
I want to try to envelop everything, right?
Jones is holding out hope a temporary tariff shakeup could cause some positive change.
I hope that the end result will be a more level playing field for everybody, and I hope that also shakes down to the farmers and the Americans that aren't part of the 1%.
Until now, he says American history has helped protect his business from tariffs.
Ever since the Boston Tea Party, the coffee and tea has been the sacred cow.
But that's all changed for Ong, who suddenly found herself in rough new waters.
We'll do our best to navigate this and, do the best we can to stay in business.
Tuesday is the deadline to file income taxes. If you still need to file, there are local organizations offering free assistance. United Way of San Diego County says if you make $60,000 a year or less, you may be eligible for some tax credits. They told our media partner KGTV they help around 40,000 families every year.
They'll, like maybe blow it off and think I'm not eligible or I'm not going to get anything back. But probably about 20% of the people that are eligible don't even try. You could get a refund that is $100. You could get a refund that's thousands of dollars. We don't know until we sit down and really look at your own situation with you individually.
It's too late to sign up for free tax prep service this year, but for next year, appointments usually open by the end of January. The school year is not over yet, but the San Diego Unified School District is already looking ahead to next fall. KPBS reporter Melissa May is in the newsroom to tell us how the district is making it easier to apply for a popular before and after school program.
San Diego Unified has a program called Prime Time, offering learning and enrichment to elementary and middle school students before and after school while their parents are at work. They've got 16,000 spots, and they hope to have more next year, depending on the state budget. It's paid for with grants, so it's free for families, and it's been very popular. So popular that in the past, all the spots filled up almost right away. And for families, that's been stressful.
We really wanted to eliminate some of the stress that it put on our families of making sure that, families with siblings, maybe you have 4 children at home and, oh, wait, you get in and you don't, but you're 801 and you're 805. We don't want that for our families.
So for next fall, the district is changing to a lottery system, which opens up on Monday morning. Parents will get a text message and an email with a link that they can click on starting at 8. Pace emphasized that parents do not need to stress out about being the first to submit their student's application. It's not first come, first served. You can submit right at 8 a.m. on Monday or wait until the end of the application period on May 2nd. The lottery will be held in July. In the newsroom, Melissa May, KPBS News.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, China raises tariffs on the U.S. even further in the escalating trade war. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
As part of our Public Matters initiative, KPBS works with another nonprofit newsroom, iNewsSource. You've probably seen their stories here on Evening Edition. Those stories are done with the help of a program called Documenters. It trains and pays community members to take notes at government meetings. KPBS's Amitha Sharma spoke with 2 people who do the work.
Grace, why did you become a documenter?
Yeah, so I moved to San Diego last year and was really looking for ways to get involved in the community and learn more about the city and heard about the Documenters program, and it seemed like an amazing opportunity to do just that. I'm also really passionate about local journalism, so it just kind of fit all of that.
Simon, what made you decide to become a documenter?
So over the last 20 years or so, I've gone to a lot of different city council meetings and other government organization meetings, and I recall there being a number of journalists there at all times, and now that's not true at all. And I thought we need to fill in that gap, and if Grace and I are not telling the stories, how are people going to know about what's going on?
So Grace, what are some topics at these meetings that have really stood out for you?
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to go to a couple of law enforcement related meetings. I previously went to the Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board meeting, and I think the thing that really stood out to me is there were a lot of members of the public making comments and kind of sharing their stories of having family members or friends who have died in custody and how that's affected them and like the changes that they would like to see. So just being able to be there and document that and record that and pass it on to reporters was really, really valuable, I think.
And Simon, what about you? What have you seen and heard at these meetings that sticks out?
So one of the first meetings that I went to was in Southeast San Diego right after the rains and the flooding. And this meeting was the community planning group, and people were there with fear and with anger, and there are 3 different city council districts are part of that area. So those folks were there. The mayor sent someone, and people were trying to find out what was going to go on with their lives, because in a lot of cases they were out of a place to live and they were not happy folks.
Grace, how does your reporting from these meetings get fed to iNews Source journalists and actually turn into stories? What's that process like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, Simon and I will go to the meetings. We'll take notes, whether that's like handwritten or on a computer, and then we have a form, sort of like template, that we put it into to make it a little bit easier to like understand what happened. And then we write what we think the 3 most important things were that came out of the meeting and some follow-up questions that we have. And that's what gets passed along to reporters. And then from there, they're able to kind of decide if there's something that they think is worth following up on, and kind of just expands the coverage and the topics that they're able to be aware of.
Simon, you're 73, Grace is 26. Each of you come from different generations. How do you think that influences the issues that spark your interest?
I've been around for a while, and sometimes I see the same sort of issues coming up every so often with new, younger elected officials, sometimes meeting these for the first time. And sometimes I want to grab them and say, you know, you're gonna have this hit you over and over again. Take a look at something different. You younger folks, you know, you have different perspectives than we do, and I think in a lot of cases they're going to be better. And so that's sort of where I come from.
And Grace, what about you? Do you think your youth might be used as a filter for what sticks out for you at these meetings?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think one of the top issues that I care about the most is climate change, which I think is true of a lot of people in my generation. And I think that the local response to climate change and being able to understand how different agencies are working to address it is really important.
Simon, has the documentaries program made you more interested in government?
Well, I've been very interested in government for quite a few years. But in this, as a documenter, I have to dig deeper, and I watch people come out with different understandings of what is going on and what's important to folks. So that's made a difference.
And Grace, has this program made you pay more attention to local government?
Yeah, it definitely has. I've learned a ton about different local agencies through doing this program, and I think it just provides a really valuable opportunity for people to get more involved and understand local government by providing trainings and even paying people to go to these meetings, because I think for a lot of people it can be hard to pay such close attention if you have so many other things going on.
Amitha Sharma with that interview. Public Matters is a partnership between KPBS, iNews Source, and Voice of San Diego. You can see more of our stories at kpbs.org/Public Matters. Concerns are skyrocketing in the South Bay around the decades-long Tijuana sewage crisis. In a statement Wednesday, the International Boundary and Water Commission said Mexico had informed them it started dumping roughly 5 million gallons of wastewater into the Tijuana River. Mexico says it's trying to activate its lift station to remove as much wastewater as it can before it gets to the U.S., but at this rate, it could be too late.
The numbers are alarming when you see that, considering the threshold that we're looking at that's set by the standards through California Air Resources Board is 30 parts per billion, and we're talking 400 to 500 parts per billion.
When we wake up and the smell is bad, then the patients start coming in with wheezing, with headaches, with nausea.
San Diego County officials say they are monitoring the situation. Disappearing sand on San Diego's coastlines are a daily reminder of the need to replenish and retain beach sand. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne says Oceanside's sand replenishment project is one step closer after getting a state grant this week.
The city of Oceanside got a $1.8 million grant from the California Coastal Commission for its sand replenishment project known as ReBeach. Jamie Timberlake is Oceanside's coastal zone administrator.
This grant is for developing a really robust data set that'll allow us to then compare against once we put the project into the ground. So it's like it's the baseline conditions of this experiment that we're doing.
The experiment is an artificial reef design used in Australia. The artificial headlands act as points that slow down ocean currents and help retain sand on the shoreline. But before that gets built, Timberlake says more data is needed.
One really big component of this grant will be covering the cost of understanding the seafloor bottom and how the sand moves around on the seafloor.
Surf monitoring and beach usage will also be surveyed during this study phase. The grant is expected to cover the majority of the studies, which are expected to last 1 to 2 years.
We're still on track to hopefully have a shovel-ready project by 2027. And in the meantime, we also need to be doing a fair bit of fundraising for the construction element of the project.
Construction of the artificial reef is expected to cost $50 million, which could be funded through grants and city funds. Sandag also announced a regional sand replenishment project that would stretch from Dana Point to Imperial Beach.
What Sandag's trying to do is make this a more cyclical program where we, as coastal cities, collaborate together and work on this project together, share the costs of it, share the responsibility of overseeing the feasibility and the design of it, and then move forward with these collaborative sand nourishment projects.
Sandag's project is in early planning stages and is expected to cost $260 million. At such a hefty price, Timberlake says Sandag and the Coastal Commission are both interested in seeing how Oceanside's pilot project plays out. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
As we talk about the upcoming days, we are easing off of the really warm weather, and we're getting more of a marine layer while we do it. So onshore flow continues. We'll make things a little breezy in the mountains as we head through this weekend, but ultimately it's about that heat finally easing for us. The coolest pattern as we go into early next week, we won't really warm up all that much as we head into next week as well. Taking a look at the numbers tonight, 56 the low in San Diego. We go to 52 in Oceanside. As you work your way towards Mount Laguna, 54 there. Borrego Springs, lower 60s for you. Really, a lot of the warmth continues to shift its way farther and farther east. So moving out of our area across the interior Southwest, the Four Corners region, that's where we'll have those record challenging highs as we head through Saturday. Moving beyond that, then basically our story will be, again, coming down from the numbers here. 69 for the high as we head through tomorrow. Morning clouds certainly very likely out there, and we will keep the onshore flow throughout the day. Ramona, 81 for you. Borrego Springs back into the mid-90s, while Mount Laguna comes into the mid-60s, no longer in the 70s through most of our mountainous communities. Coastal communities, like I said, this is where we're dealing with the clouds, the fog. I do think the marine layer will actually thicken as we go through the weekend, so we'll have some fog tonight. We'll see more of that as we head into Sunday morning, so just be aware that there will be some dense fog potential Sunday morning out there. Then we continue the onshore pattern as we hold on to the 60s through the upcoming days. Inland communities falling to the lower 70s for highs by Monday and Tuesday, but at least for Saturday to start things off, we'll still be close to 80 degrees, so still fairly mild there. Mountain communities, we're coming down to back to the 50s here for Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be a much cooler pattern than where we've been as we get into early next week. And desert communities, say goodbye to the triple digits. We return to the 80s for the start of next work week. That's after falling through the mid-90s as we head through this weekend. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
Now, an audio-visual postcard from KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando. It features the WorldBeat Center's Sound Healing Garden. WorldBeat Center founder Makeda Dredd Cheatham guides us through a calming visit, just in case you need a little chill time before the weekend.
So come on into the WorldBeat's garden. Ah, it's so nice to be out here. Our plants play music.
And so this device is just an instrument, and the plant itself is playing it.
You can come here and relax, meditate. I do a breath meditation. Breathe it in. I know I'm breathing in, and breathing out. I know I'm breathing out. So important that we have a place in the city that we can slow down, relax. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in. I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out. Taking care of our thoughts and our bodies right now in these crucial times is very important, because love is the highest emotion on this planet. And we must love ourselves first. And then we are a benefit to our families, our communities, and to our nation, and to the world. So peace is in every step. Asante.
Peace in every step. Love that. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm John Carroll. Have an excellent evening and a wonderful weekend.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.